Welcome back. I'm here with my friend Yoav, and we're talking about Azure Security Center. Let's talk about making sure you have the right security settings across your resources, something that's often called cloud security posture management. What can you tell us about that?
So our customers, they run all kinds of resources in Azure, VMs, PaaS services, data services, containers, all those different areas, and they want to make sure that those services are properly configured, and so they don't have a configuration drift and they leave the door open for an attack. Security Center provides a solution for that, helps our customers secure Azure and configure it in a way that is secure and harness the built-in controls that are part of Azure that help security.
Great. So there's all of these resources across Azure, from data to networking to apps to VMs. And Security Center gives me the ability to make sure that I have followed best practices across all of those. But I imagine that's a lot of information. How do I know where to start?
That's a very good question. Eventually, our customers don't always have enough people to do everything security. Mm-hmm. The way Security Center deals with that or handles that is that first it provides a list of recommendations for each service in Azure, whether it's a VM or a PaaS service, that tells you what you need to do to make and improve the security posture of that service. Mm-hmm. And each one of those recommendations also have something that we call a secure score. Secure score is a number which shows how impactful security-wise will be in case you implement that specific recommendation. So a recommendation like enabling multi-factor authentication will have a higher score than another recommendation that is unlike MFA, which is known to be a top reason for data center breaches, has less impact on the security posture.
So it's like a game. You have points, and I guess you try and maximize your points.
Exactly. It's like a game. It feels like a game,
okay,
but you're actually doing security. And another benefit, besides prioritization of what you do first and what you do next in your environment, mm-hmm, you can also see your overall security score, which allows you to monitor the improvement of your environment over time and to see that your security posture is improving or not. Depends on you.
Hopefully it's improving, right?
Yeah. Typically.
Great. So let's talk about compliance. Lots of companies have to deal with regulations, whether it be ISO or PCI, and some of these regulations have security components in them. Is there an easy way to understand whether my Azure environment is set up with the right recommendations to put me in a compliant place with some of these regulations?
So the recommendations in Security Center are mapped into regulatory compliances, which gives you an outcome of a dashboard which shows you the state of your compliance, for example, on PCI or SOC or ISO. And you can also produce detailed regulatory compliance reports. Those reports, you can hand them to the auditor, which will show him that everything that Security Center recommended that relates to his regulation was carried successfully and was covered. Security Center also helps you track requirements, regulatory requirements, that are not automatically evaluated by Security Center. So you have also the whole checklist of the things that you need to check in order to audit the environment and see that it's ready to comply. And by that, get your application compliant and faster to production.
That's awesome. I mean, it's a whole lot simpler than what I'd have to do on premises, having a list and checking the list and then being able to submit it to my auditors. Let's talk about networking. Networking has always been an attack surface for years and years in the data center. And, some things change. There's a lot more software in networking when you're in the cloud because it's more virtual networks than actual networks. But, what do you do for networking and from a security perspective?
So if we look at networking, that's a very important thing for our customers, to isolate their services for the network and only allow the needed access and not a bit more than that. Mm-hmm. And actually, we have a unique offering here. First, we allow our customers to visualize their network in Azure, their VNets, their hosts, and to filter hosts according to the severity of the recommendations that we detect for those hosts, filter only internet-facing endpoints or internally facing endpoints, and filter endpoints according to the type of recommendation. You can also see what kind of connections are allowed between the different areas in Azure. So you can understand the traffic flows in your data center. There's also a new feature that we just introduced that's called adaptive network hardening, which allows you to get specific recommendations that are machine learning driven. We learn your environment, we learn the pattern of traffic, And we provide a recommendation of exactly which ports needs to be closed in the environment to really tighten the configuration to the minimum level necessary. You can do that manually, take the recommendations and follow them, and you can follow them also automatically. So that's how you create a network that is segmented. I would even say micro-segmented in Azure with relatively a reduced effort.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, getting visibility across your network in a single map to rocket science stuff, man. I mean, using machine learning to help me figure out where to network harden. I'd love to see that in a minute. But before I do that, Azure Security Center, I guess you've been working on it for several years now, and it's been available for customers for more than almost 3 years at this point, I think. And some of our competitive clouds are just getting started. They're in preview. So there's lots of surface area here in terms of helping you across all types of workloads and securing them. But what's coming up next? You're continually innovating. What's up next for Security Center?
So in the past year, we really saw a lot of adoption of Security Center across all the types of customers that we have. The biggest customers and all kinds of customers are now using Security Center, which creates a lot of requests that they ask for us to enhance the product and to do more.
Yeah.
To name a few of the big things we're going to do, we are going to add additional regulatory compliances that we will support. And also we are going to add customization capabilities that will allow the organization to create his own policy, his own best practice, and customize Security Center in a way that will better fit his specific application and specific security needs. Also, Security Center will have a lot of new recommendations. The fun part here, you don't need to install or update Security Center. We do it for you. You just get the features. You will see our announcements, and then you'll be able to immediately use the features. So stay tuned.
Oh, that's awesome. So why don't we go do a demo and show it to folks?
So we've seen the dashboard before, and we talked about the different areas. Let's focus on the security hygiene. We see in the upper stripe, we see the policy and compliance overall status and the overall secure score that can improve over time. And on the second stripe, we can see the different recommendations according to their severity for all the different type of resources, compute and apps, new compute, like containers or application services, and also traditional compute, like VMs. We can see recommendations for networking, data and storage, identity and access, and even for IoT devices that use IoT app. We can also see what will be the most impactful step that we can do. That's a very good way to decide where to start, exactly like you asked.
Yeah, it looks like I can get 50 points here for doing something. What's the something?
That something is MFA. If you enable multi-factor authentication, you'll get a lot of points. And if you read through what happened in past data center breaches, you will see that many times the beginning of the breach is that somebody forgot to turn MFA on. A lower priority or a lower impacting recommendation will be to install system update on a virtual machine. In this case, a scale set, which is a special type of a virtual machine. And again, you are able to prioritize your actions.
Makes sense. I better go get that one patched.
Let's look at a specific recommendation and how it actually looks like.
Okay.
So once I drill down into compute, I can see all the different recommendations, and each recommendation has a score attached, and we see the different resources and amount of resources in each type of recommendation. If we actually look at the list, we can see that there are all kinds of recommendations, from updating a system, from enabling a configuration that will allow a web application to be accessible only through HTTPS, or setting a cluster protection level property to encrypt and sign in Service Fabric. Really, they span across all the different areas of compute. Let's drill down into installing endpoint protection solution on a virtual machine.
Great. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously more than virtual machines, but yeah, let's do a virtual machine.
Yeah, so if you look at this recommendation, we see all the different resources that don't have endpoint protection deployed. And with a click of a button, we can actually mitigate that and deploy the endpoint protection to the virtual machine. So Azure Security Center not only tells you what you need to do first, not only gives you instructions of what you need to do, but in some cases, it will actually do it for you.
Got it. And in this case, I know the Microsoft anti-malware is free on Azure, right? So there's no cost associated with this, and we get antivirus just built in.
You're getting much more than an antivirus. You are getting a whole suite of detections. I'd really love to talk to you about that more. Mm-hmm. It includes Security Center. When you use it, includes as part of it and integrates with Windows Defender ATP, which is an award-winning endpoint detection response. And there are additional threat protection capabilities and layers, which I really like to tell you more about.
That's very cool.
Let's look at the network portion of the recommendations. Let's look at the network recommendation. So click networking. And here I can see that there are a list of recommendations.
Yeah, it looks like you have a bunch of work to do here.
Yes, there is a bunch of work to do here. There's definitely more work than people, and that's why we also help you prioritize.
Makes sense.
But this time, let's look at the map.
Okay. So we're going to visualize the network here? Wow, look at that.
Yeah, we'll
That's
visualize
awesome.
the network. You can see your VNet, you can see the different hosts.
Well, I guess it's not awesome. All those red things look like I need to get fixed, but I like having a graph.
Yeah, you're going to have to fix a lot of things in your environment, Scott.
Exactly.
And if I try to filter this list, for example, to see internet-facing endpoints or internal-facing endpoints, I can filter according to the type of recommendations, according to the system health of the host, see also the more healthy hosts. And I can also see what kind of traffic is allowed between the different hosts in the environment. So again, visibility to what's happening in the data center in Azure and what kind of things needs to have a focus and what kind of exposure they have.
Wow, I love the visualization. I bet that's pretty hard to do on premises. Looks like it's easy in Azure.
Easy because we can discover all the machines because the network and the infrastructure in Azure is unified. Unlike an on-premise environment where you have all kinds of different solutions from different vendors, and it's more difficult to map and visualize all the network
Makes sense.
map and everything.
So what's this adaptive network hardening thing?
So let's drill down to this new feature, adaptive network hardening, and we can see here in this feature first an instructions of how to use the feature and what it means, and you get all the information. I really encourage everyone to step into that and see. And here you can see a list of unhealthy resources that needs to have their ports closed. If you drill down to that, you will get a list of ports that needs to be closed on those resources in Azure, and you'll be able to close them. You can also see the list of the healthy resources. So we're not just showing you what you need to do, but we're also showing how well you did.
I like healthy resources. That's good. There's 4 we need to fix though. Yeah.
Okay. So that's about it with security posture management. There's so much more to learn, but I think that this represents, provides a good visibility into main capabilities of cloud security posture management in Security Center.
Yeah, so thanks for the overview. Obviously, ending on network security with visualization in the map, and then rocket science-based machine learning to enable you to understand where you harden your network. But then stepping back to the beginning, doing cloud security posture management to make sure all of those resources across Azure, you understand the right dials, the right best practices, and then you have a prioritized list where you can specifically drill into the ones that are the most important to work on it at first. Really exciting stuff. Everyone really needs to take advantage of Azure Security Center to secure your subscriptions. And with that, we've got lots of resources and lots of modules coming up for Azure Security Center, so stay tuned.